Acadiana. It is Monday, March 8th, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. Today, we're joined by Ross Campbell. Ross, welcome to Local News Live.
Good morning, Matt. Glad to be here.
Good morning. Thanks so much for being here. I know we have a few stories, so I'm going to go ahead and go and listen on Cypress Street. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning, Acadiana. The first article is entitled Dog Napping Fears Escalate Across Acadiana. Woman reunited with purebred pup as police investigators find little trace of other missing pets or proof of thefts. By Megan Riot, staff writer. Emily Harding considers herself to be one of the lucky members of an unofficial club she never signed up for, dog napping victims in Acadiana. Harding's story has a happy ending, unlike many others. After her 11-year-old Yorkshire Terrier was snatched from her Lafayette yard in January, he was eventually recovered 30 miles away in Lawtell. It really is a miracle, Harding said. We never should have gotten him back. Harding never knew how many purebred dogs are thought to be stolen until she found herself in the situation and others reached out to offer support. Without video footage or other forms of concrete evidence, many victims find it virtually impossible to recover their missing pups. Bridget Dugas, spokesman for the Lafayette Police Department, said there doesn't seem to be a rise in dog napping in the area, although she did admit that many people, such as Harding, do not file a police report when their dogs go missing because they don't suspect criminal activity. Dugas actually lost her own 13-year-old Yorkie in 2018 in an eerily similar manner as Harding. Dugas called it the worst feeling in the world, although she noted that she's not certain her Yorkie was stolen. My neighbors at the time said they saw a vehicle riding around my neighborhood. At the time, my dog went missing, she said. I never found her. Chris DeRose, founder of Last Chance for Animals, said there are many reasons people steal dogs. His California nonprofit has primarily focused on preventing dog napping by licensed dealers who steal animals to laboratories for experiments, who sell animals to laboratories for experiments. DeRose said what's happening in Acadiana with suspected theft of purebred dogs is different. That would be backyard breeders. These are people looking to breed and sell the puppies, DeRose said. Or they're just going for the ransom money. Most people who lose their dog will pay the reward and not hesitate about it, just like Lady Gaga. She paid $500,000 to get her dogs back. St. Landry Parish animal control officials recently recovered more than 100 small dogs from a home after receiving a tip about potential abuse. The case, which is under investigation, has yet to result in any arrests as the animals undergo veterinary examinations. Terry Corvell, director of the parish animal control office, said it's extraordinarily difficult to know whether these dogs were obtained through theft, breeding, or a combination of the two. Some of the dogs had been microchipped, she said, but the microchips were not registered. We're not sure if they were stolen, Corvell said. We had found a whole bunch of microchips, but they weren't registered, so we did not find out who these dogs belong to. What helps is microchipping your dog, but it doesn't end there. You have to go and register it. Harding believes it was her persistence, a $500 cash reward, and Malcolm's special needs that led to their reunion after an anonymous tipster told Harding she witnessed someone stealing her dog. Malcolm had squeezed out of a loose gate on January the 18th in Harding's yard, where the pup had been for only a few minutes while she cooked dinner. Harding said she received a tip as she put up flyers and spread the word in her neighborhood near Congress Street and Gilboa Road. The tipster said she came across the Yorkie. A man picked up the dog and asked if the pup belonged to her. When she said no, the tipster said the man left with the dog. Harding said she thinks she knows who took her dog based on the tipster's information, but she declined to share his name out of fear of retaliation. Malcolm was discovered hours after his disappearance on the side of a highway in Lafayette. Harding said she was contacted a few days later by someone who had taken him in and had seen her flyers with reward information. Because she had promised, quote, no questions asked, unquote, with a $500 reward for the safe return of Malcolm, Harding said she knows little about exactly what happened during the 6 days her dog was missing. I always say there's a possibility they saw all the flyers and Facebook posts and all the attention we brought to it, Harding said. But the more likely scenario is that my dog pooped and puked all over their house, and they got upset and just dumped my dog. Malcolm has a severe grain allergy that requires medications and prescription food to manage. After nearly a week away, Malcolm required veterinary care to bring him back to health. Harding was also able to double-check her dog's microchip while at the vet, although she had no doubt that she had been reunited with Malcolm. Harding has tried to assist other victims of dog napping after her experience. These dogs are priceless to us, Harding said. For us, it's like someone finding a child and trying to profit off of it instead of trying to find the parents. She has yet to find another family who's been reunited with a purebred dog in a situation where someone witnessed a suspicious person picking up the pet. Sia Haydari just upped the reward to $5,000 for his missing 4-year-old Yorkie named Zola. Zola also went missing in mid-January after she escaped under the fence in Haydari's backyard to chase a neighborhood cat. After Haydari posted about his missing pup in a neighborhood group on social media, he got a call from a neighbor who said she witnessed a woman and a boy jump out of a car to snatch Zola. The neighbor said she assumed the dog belonged to the people in the car, which she described in detail to Haydari, although she didn't have license plate information for the vehicle. Haydari said he never would have left Zola alone in his yard for even a minute had he realized there was a possibility someone would take her. He always assumed if someone came across his pup, the person would have seen his phone number and address on Zola's tag and contacted him. Someone needs to know that this is happening, Haydari said. In my wildest dreams, I never thought someone would steal my dog. Maybe she would get lost, poisoned, run over, or anything except for that. Haydari has upped the reward money multiple times for the safe return of Zola in the 6 weeks since her disappearance. He's also hired a private investigator. Now we're up to $5,000, Haydari said. This dog means a lot to us. It's part of our family. If she had some kind of illness, the vet would take that money. I don't care anymore. It's the only thing I can think of that might save her. Brian Freezing, the private investigator Haydari hired in a desperate attempt to find Zola, said he's followed a couple of leads from eyewitnesses, but has struggled to nail down anything terribly useful. Neighborhood canvassing turned up no video footage of the suspected theft. The question becomes, Would somebody just arbitrarily just pull over and grab a dog? Freezing said. I mean, it's possible, if a little unusual. Sabrina Griffin also hired a private investigator to assist with locating her mother's Yorkie last year after the pup disappeared from inside a home near Verrott School Road. Griffin said the 6-year-old dog named Annie had gone missing, along with electronics and valuables, after someone broke into the home. Like Harding, Griffin said she believes she knows who took Annie, although the family has been unable to prove it or get Annie back. The only progress we've had was the guy sending us threats and saying he had our dog and asking, "Are you going to effing pay for us? Or are you going to effing pay us?" Griffin said. There are many ways to reduce the risk of pet theft. Above all else, Corville and DeRose recommend microchipping pets and ensuring the registration is complete and up to date. Anyone who finds a dog or cat can bring the animal to a veterinarian to check for a microchip at no charge. It's safest to keep a pet inside or with you at all times. It only takes a few minutes alone in a backyard, an unattended vehicle, or tied outside of a restaurant for a pet to go missing. Never leave them alone, Corville said. Never, ever. If you must rehome your pet, take extra steps to ensure the animal is going to a good home. Try to visit the house of a potential adopter. Ask about other pets they've had and the name of their veterinarian. Take a photo of their state-issued identification card and charge a small adoption fee. If you're looking for a pet, try to adopt from shelters and avoid purchasing from pet stores or backyard breeders. Spay or neuter pets. Educate family, friends, and neighbors about pet theft and how they can keep their pets safe. Keep an eye open, especially if you're in an area where you see a lot of dog missing signs, reward signs, DeRose said. If you see a lot of these in an area, you know that area has been scoped out, and it's important for people to keep vigilant about strangers in the area. United Way of Acadiana, offering free tax preparation. The United Way of Acadiana is offering free tax preparation services through its volunteer Income Tax Assistance, VITA, V-I-T-A, program. The program provides low and moderate income individuals and families with free, reliable assistance with filing federal tax returns. There are 12 filing locations participating this year throughout the Acadiana region. Most locations are by appointment only due to COVID-19 safety restrictions. Visit unitedwayofacadiana.org/VITA for site locations, opening dates, and to make appointments. For additional resources, visit myfreetaxes.com to learn more about alternate free or low-cost filing options currently available. The VITA program is just one way the United Way of Acadiana is working to help individuals and families achieve and maintain financial stability. Learn about additional programs by visiting unitedwayofacadiana.org. The next article is entitled Triple That. Acadiana family welcomes rare spontaneous triplets by Megan Wyatt, staff writer. When Megan Champagne and her fiancé discussed having another baby to complete their family, she never expected to become pregnant with triplets. Champagne, 29, learned during an ultrasound last summer that there were 3 heartbeats inside her growing baby bump. Her due date was April Fool's Day. To top it off, Champagne had to relay the information to her fiancé, Chase Schexnayder, after the fact because of coronavirus precautions that prevented him from being with her at the doctor's office. I knew if I called him or texted him, he'd think I was joking, especially when I found out my due date was April 1st, Champagne said. Instead, she picked up 3 of his favorite cookies and iced them with A and C. Schexnayder, 30, didn't understand what the cookies symbolized when he opened the box at work. He said, "I don't get it. I know my ABCs." Champagne said with a laugh, remembering that she pointed to her growing belly and told him, "ABC, 1, 2, 3." It took him a couple of seconds, and he could have hit the rocks. He didn't believe it. Spontaneous triplets, conceiving 3 babies without the help of fertility treatments, is not common. Only about 1 in every 10,000 pregnancies result in naturally conceived triplets. The St. Martinville couple had 3 children between the ages of 18 months and 10 years when they welcomed the triplets to their family in February. They had expected to round out their family with a 4th child in April instead of a 4th, 5th, and 6th child that arrived nearly 2 months early. Still, they were thrilled to have 3 healthy babies. The engaged couple had gone through multiple miscarriages and heartaches before conceiving the triplets, who were born February the 5th via cesarean section at Our Lady of Lourdes Women's and Children's Hospital. Elijah and Anastasia weighed 3 pounds 11. Stella weighed just under 3 pounds. The 3 preemies required assistance from feeding tubes, intravenous fluids, and supplemental oxygen for their first few weeks of life. Mom and Dad didn't get to hold their babies immediately after their birth because of their fragile state and COVID-19 restrictions. They first had the opportunity to hold Anastasia a week after she was born. A few days later, they were able to hold Elijah. Finally, after 21 days, they got to hold their tiniest baby, Stella. Me and Dad can go whenever we'd like to see them, but it's only us, Champagne said. Nobody has physically touched them besides me and Dad. Every day when Champagne returns home from the hospital, her oldest daughter, Kaylin, asks if the babies are coming home. She has yet to meet her youngest siblings. Although the triplets remain in the hospital's neonatal intensive care unit, they are healthy and gaining strength each day. They continue to require monitoring for their heart rates, especially while sleeping. That must improve before they can be discharged. Hospital staff members expect the triplets to go home later this month. Champagne and Schexnayder recently purchased a larger vehicle for their family of 8. They're also hoping to move into a larger home one day or add to their existing space since they're quickly going to outgrow their modest 3-bedroom home. Mom and Dad have asked for a little help from the community to care for their unexpected extra babies. They had the basics for an extra child in the form of hand-me-downs from their older children, but they're hoping for a little financial assistance to purchase multiple cribs, carriers, car seats, and strollers for their newborns. Schexnayder welds farming equipment for a living, and Champagne is a stay-at-home mom. Although she once paid a sitter to care for her children while cleaning homes and businesses, Champagne said the cost of paying for child care would now negate any supplemental income she could bring in through working. Parenting will be her full-time job for the foreseeable future. An online fundraiser has generated more than $2,000 for the Schexnayder triplets. Anyone who has gently used baby items that might be useful to the triplets can also email Champagne at Kaylin_Marie2011 at yahoo.com. That's Kaylin, Kaylynn underscore Marie, Marie 2011 at yahoo.com. The funds are going to be to the big items for the babies, as well as diapers and last-minute necessities, Champagne said. We thank everyone for their love and support. In police reports, we have 3 injured in separate shootings. Crime blotter. And this is based on advocate staff reports. 2 shootings happened in Vermilion Parish overnight, Saturday. KATC TV reported. Few details were available Sunday afternoon about either shooting. Abbeville Police Chief Bill Spearman confirmed a shooting happened on Green Street and that one person was wounded and taken to the hospital. No suspects have been identified or arrested in that shooting, the chief told KATC. Anyone with information about the shooting is asked to call Abbeville Police at 337-893-2511. The second shooting happened just outside of Abbeville. A spokesman for the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office told KATC. 2 people were wounded in that shooting, but the spokesperson had no details on Sunday afternoon of their conditions. Investigators are following leads, and we will have an update as soon as possible, the TV station reported. 1 killed, 1 injured in Vermilion Parish crash. A 21-year-old was killed in a car crash on LA 82 near Finn Road in Vermilion Parish on Saturday morning, according to Louisiana State Police. Police said Daxton Harrington was driving a 2013 Chevrolet Malibu when it ran off the road, overturned, and hit a tree. Both Harrington and a passenger were not wearing seatbelts. Harrington was pronounced dead at the scene, and the passenger was ejected from the vehicle. The passenger is in critical condition and was transported to a hospital, police said. No other details were provided, including the name of the passenger or whether impairment played a role in the crash. The crash is still under investigation. Today in History by the Associated Press. Today is Monday, March the 8th, the 67th day of 2021. There are 298 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, a Boeing 777, with 239 people on board, vanished during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, setting off a massive and ultimately unsuccessful search. On this date, in 1618, German astronomer Johannes Kepler devised his third law of planetary motion. In 1817, the New York Stock Exchange Board, which had its beginnings in 1792, was formally organized. It later became known as the New York Stock Exchange. It was originally known as the New York Stock and Exchange Board, and it was renamed the New York Stock Exchange. In 1930, the 27th President of the United States, William Howard Taft, died in Washington at age 72. In 1948, the Supreme Court in McCollum versus Board of Education struck down voluntary religious education classes in Champaign, Illinois public schools, saying the program violated separation of church and state. In 1965, the United States landed its first combat troops in South Vietnam as 3,500 Marines arrived to defend the U.S. Air Base at Da Nang. In 1979, the technology firm Philips demonstrated a prototype compact disc player during a press conference in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. In 1983, in a speech to the National Association of Evangelicals convention in Orlando, Florida, President Ronald Reagan referred to the Soviet Union as a, quote, evil empire, unquote. In 1988, 17 soldiers were killed when two Army helicopters from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, collided in mid-flight. In 2004, Iraq's governing council signed a landmark interim constitution. In 2008, President George W. Bush vetoed a bill that would have banned the CIA from using simulated drowning and other coercive interrogation methods to gain information from suspected terrorists. 10 years ago, voters in Bell, California went to the polls in huge numbers and threw out the entire city council after most of its members had been charged with fraud. Residents were infuriated to find out that former city manager Robert Rizzo had been receiving an annual salary of $1.5 million, and that 4 of the 5 city council members had paid themselves $100,000 a year to meet about once a month. 5 years ago, Democrat Bernie Sanders breathed new life into his long-shot White House bid with a crucial win in Michigan's primary, while Hillary Clinton breezed to an easy victory in Mississippi. Republican Donald Trump swept to victory in Michigan, Mississippi, and Hawaii, while Ted Cruz carried Idaho. 1 year ago, Italy's prime minister announced a sweeping quarantine restricting the movements of about a quarter of the country's population. 2 members of Congress, Senators Ted Cruz and Representative Paul Gosar, said they were isolating themselves after determining that they had contact at the Conservative Political Action Conference with a man who later tested positive for the coronavirus. Today's birthdays: jazz musician George Coleman is 86. Actor Sue Ann Langdon is 85. Songwriter Carol Bayer Sager is 77. Actor-director Mickey Dolenz of the Monkey fame is 76. Singer-musician Randy Meisner is 75. Pop singer Peggy March is 73. Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Rice is 68. Jazz musician Billy Childs is 64. Singer Gary Newman is 63. NBC News anchor Lester Holt is 62. Actor Aidan Quinn is 62. Actor Cameron Manheim is 60. Actor Leon, no last name, is 60. Country rock singer Sean Mullins is 53. Neo-soul singer Van Hunt is 51. Actor Andrea Parker is 51. Actor Boris Kodjoe is 48. Actor Freddie Prinze Jr. is 45. Actor Laura Main is 44. Actor James Van Der Beek is 44. R&B singer Camila Williams of 702 is 43. Actor Nick Zano is 43. Rock singer Tom Chaplin of Keene is 42. Next up is the zodiac readings. And for Pisces, February the 20th through March the 20th. Look for an outlet that dissipates pent-up energy. Blow off steam in a healthy way and pursue your goals. Don't let others lead you astray. Update your look and compliments will follow. Aries, March the 21st through April the 19th. Have your questions and answers ready. Take a leadership position and use intelligence, patience, and understanding to map out the best way to get things done on time. Taurus, April 20th through May the 20th. Know what you are up against before you take action. An encounter with someone who doesn't share your views will test your patience and knowledge. Do your best to keep the peace. Gemini, May the 21st through June the 20th. Get the facts, prepare your defense, and don't believe everything you hear. It's important to reserve judgment, but at the same time, you must not be gullible. Focus on educational pursuits. Cancer, June the 21st through July the 22nd. You'll attract informative people. Share your vision, and the input you receive will spark your imagination. A partnership will be tempting, but make sure your expenses are shared. Romance is in the stars. Leo, July the 23rd through August the 22nd. Indecisiveness will weigh heavily on your mind. Distance yourself from unpredictable individuals. Put your time and energy into something you believe in or an activity that will bring you closer to someone. Virgo, August the 23rd through September the 22nd. It's up to you to bring about positive change. If you wait for someone else to make the first move, you won't accomplish what you set out to do. Libra, September 23rd through October the 23rd. Think before you act. If you let your emotions lead the way, you'll end up on the defensive. Physical fitness, personal growth, and educational pursuits will help you gain confidence. Scorpio, October the 24th through November the 22nd. Be open to suggestions, but don't lose sight of your plan. An innovative approach to how you run your home and deal with friends and relatives will pay off. Sagittarius, November the 23rd through December the 21st. Be observant. Question anything that appears odd or unlikely. Use your intelligence to ferret out what's real and what isn't. Don't make a decision based on what someone else does. Capricorn, December 22nd through January the 19th. A professional move, investment, or lifestyle change will tempt you. Follow your heart and pay attention to those who bring out the best in you. Aquarius, January the 20th through February the 19th. Put more time and thought into something that interests you. Educational pursuits will encourage you to use your skills in a satisfying way. The horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact. Now in state news, states' push for new voting machines falls apart. Election official lawmaker at odds by Sam Carlin, staff writer. Louisiana's top elections official, Kyle Ordwan, has known for years the state needed to replace its fleet of aging voting machines. After a previous effort to do so in 2018 was rejected, he officially began the quest again in January, seeking a vendor for the potentially $100 million contract. But the new effort coincided with a wave of baseless allegations against one of the three bidders, Dominion Voting Systems, that took hold in right-wing media in the wake of former President Donald Trump's election loss in November. At the same time, the two other companies seeking the work halted the process by filing official protests of the plan, and Republican state lawmakers, many of whom were inundated with calls from constituents demanding the state not hire Dominion, slowed the process down, seeking more oversight and public hearings on the contract. As pressure mounted, Ordwan faced the prospect of failing to get approval from the Legislative Budget Committee whose okay he needed. Last week, he abandoned the effort. Erdogan said he's now setting out to dispel misinformation about the state's election system before restarting the bid. I think, unfortunately, those folks who are rooted deep in the conspiracy theories may not accept what we provide to them in terms of transparency, Erdogan said in an interview. But at the same time, it's gotten more folks involved in the process, asking questions. And it is our job to answer these questions and to provide evidence of what we're doing right. Now it's up to the legislature to determine the future of the election system in Louisiana and what we can afford and where we're going to head. And I'll be glad to participate in that discussion, Erdogan said. The saga has revealed the extent that election issues, including concerns with no basis in reality, have infected politics in Louisiana, a state Trump carried easily in 2020. It also produced a public spat between Erdogan and State Senator Sharon Hewitt, a Republican who leads the influential Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee and who is often mentioned as a potential candidate for governor in 2023. Republican activists and voters in Louisiana who believe in the unfounded allegations that Dominion helped engineer a huge vote switching scheme have also made their voices heard since the election. Lawmakers and even the Office of State Procurement have received calls and emails from constituents demanding Dominion not be selected. Lenore Whitney, the Republican National Committee woman for Louisiana, has proposed, or rather has promoted conspiracy theories about Dominion on her Facebook page and rallied fellow patriots to pressure Erdogan to abandon the bid for new machines. She pointedly questioned Erdogan about the contract during a Republican women's meeting in Baton Rouge recently. On February the 18th, she announced that she had been tapped by RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel to serve on an, quote, election integrity committee, unquote. A mysterious billboard popped up on Interstate 10 in Baton Rouge recently, telling people to call their legislator about the, quote, waste, unquote, in the voting machine contract. The conservative radio host, Jeff Crouere, who writes an occasional column in this newspaper, in early February, cut an ad urging people to call Erdogan's office about the machines. Tell Kyle we don't want a Dominion voting machine lawsuit here like they had in Georgia, Crouere said in the spot, which he said was paid for by a private citizen. Call Kyle and tell him to get honest voting machines. Ironically, Louisiana already uses Dominion machines and has for years. In fact, the delay in the contract may ensure that the state will continue to use Dominion machines for longer. Erdogan pointed that out in a sharply worded letter to Hewitt. Quote, please know that your continued quest to place yourself into this discussion has now resulted in Louisiana's prolonged use of its current inventory of Dominion voting machines for election day and early voting, unquote. Erdogan wrote in the letter released Friday. Now that the RFP has been terminated, our agency has been forced to continue with Dominion as a vendor in advance of any meaningful work to determine a path forward. Hewitt has homed in on what she sees as a lack of transparency in the bid for new machines and accused Ordowan of rushing into the process without legislative oversight. In her latest response to Ordowan on Friday, she said, quote, "I can understand if the secretary is embarrassed, but I've been crystal clear from the beginning. This process must be transparent and thorough," unquote. Ordowan has repeatedly said Louisiana had smooth elections in 2020, even after the courts stepped in to resolve a partisan battle over mail-in voting during the pandemic. At the same time, many of the roughly 9,500 Election Day machines used statewide are approaching obsolescence, he said. Some date to 1995 and others were built in 2005. That increases the risk they could fail because of old age. The state also leases 780 touchscreen machines, the type of equipment Ordowan said the state is looking to purchase from Dominion. Voting experts have said states should have a paper trail in their machines, something Ordowan sought to do in the new contract. Conspiracy theories about Dominion aren't the only thing that tangled up the voting machine contract. Dominion and two other voting companies, Election Systems and Software and Hart Intercivic, expressed interest in the new contract. Both Election Systems and Hart complained the request for proposals, called RFP, released by Ordowan, was so narrowly tailored that they couldn't compete, and Dominion was sure to win. The firms filed lengthy correspondence with the Office of State Procurement that serves as referee in such bids. Ordowan said he intended to address some of their concerns through an addendum, but before he could, the two firms filed protests with the Commissioner of Administration, Jay Darden's office, halting the process. Hewitt had tried to hold a joint committee hearing about the process before Ordowan launched the solicitation, but delays related to weather and the pandemic prevented them. In late February, she fired off a pointed letter to Ordowan, accusing him of, quote, sidestepping input, unquote, from the public, lawmakers, and others, and asking him to cancel the bid. While Dominion has been in the national news the most, Hewitt said in an interview she isn't against any one company and doesn't want to rehash allegations of fraud in other states. "I think we have to have a fair process," Hewitt said. "I don't know if everything that's been said about Dominion is true. I suspect a lot of it is false. I don't think I'm going to let accusations in other states influence how we move forward in Louisiana." Representative Jerome Zarang of Houma, Republican from Houma, the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, said he has received more calls recently from constituents about Dominion than about the state budget or tax reform, the big topic of discussion at the state capitol for the upcoming session. He said the allegations about Dominion, actual or not, influenced the process as lawmakers were inundated with calls from constituents worried about the company. Republicans hold the majority on the budget committee that needs to sign off on Ordowan's contract for new machines. But lawmakers were looking for oversight even before the Dominion allegations became a cause célèbre for some Republican activists. Last year, before the 2020 presidential election, Zarang helped put a provision in the state budget that required the voting contract to get approval from the Joint Budget Committee. That was aimed at giving lawmakers oversight in the wake of a previous bid for new machines in 2018 which was tossed out after Edwards' administration found flaws in Erdogan's selection of Dominion. There's no doubt the presidential election was a factor, but it was even before that there was an issue, he said. Dominion CEO John Poulos said in a statement that the firm understands Erdogan's decision to cancel the request for proposals. Unfortunately, months of baseless allegations of election fraud have adversely affected the state's procurement process, creating an untenable environment for fact-based deliberation, Poulos said. We stand ready today to provide a voting system solution that meets Louisiana's current and evolving standards. We pledge to continue our commitment to offering innovative, reliable election technology tailored to individual states' requirements. Dominion has been trying to rehabilitate its image in the wake of the election, filing defamation lawsuits against Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and founder and CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, for falsely accusing the company of rigging the 2020 election. But as the allegations about Dominion swirled, the firm also sought to fight back in Louisiana's Court of Public Opinion, specifically the right-wing section. During an ad break on the conservative Moon Graffont's radio show last month, a voice with a thick Southern accent explained that Dominion has been used in Louisiana for over 2 decades. Over a sleepy acoustic guitar riff, the man said, Dominion's machines do, quote, one simple thing accurately and honestly, help local elected officials count your votes, unquote. Every single statewide official in Louisiana, Republican and Democrat, was elected using Dominion machines, the ad says. Using those same Dominion machines, President Trump won Louisiana with more votes in 2020 than he did in 2016, unquote. The company took out similar ads in The Advocate and on The Hayride, a right-wing blog. The publisher of The Hayride posted an entire piece devoted to explaining to his readers why he took Dominion's ad dollars. Dominion said it wanted to share facts about the company as, quote, defamatory disinformation, unquote, is being spread. 2 days after Erdogan abandoned the latest bid for new machines, Courier, the conservative radio host who voiced the ad urging people to call Erdogan about the contract, had Erdogan on his show. Courier peppered the secretary with questions about Dominion, saying there was, quote, concern big time about the company, unquote, about the company. Erdogan insisted he wasn't, quote, sticking up, unquote, for any one company and merely wants to get the best machines possible for the voters, which he intends to do through the request for proposals. Our elections turned into a political football, Erdogan said, and that's not right. And finally, folks, in funeral news, funerals today in the Acadiana area, Dilbert Corbello, the funeral is at Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church at 3 p.m. And Coralie Grossi is at St. Peter Roman Catholic Church in Carencro at 1 p.m. This has been Local News Live for March the 8th, 2021. I have been your reader, Ross Campbell. Join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these same stories and more at theadvocate.com. That's theadvocate.com. And find out how to volunteer. And find out more at aocinc.org. Bye for now.